Hi, I'm Julia from Shortlisted Productions. Today we have a pleasure of interviewing Erica Young from Anthemis Group. Erica, thank you very much for your time today.
Very welcome.
You have quite an unusual background. You have a degree in industrial product design and you worked in manufacturing. You also were a co-founder in quite a few startups in different areas like clean energy and robotics. Can you tell us how did you end up doing financial services?
With the degree in industrial design, you really are a creative problem solver. And over the course of the years, you're looking at applying design and your creative problem solving skills to increasing, I guess, levels of abstraction. So initially I was designing individual products, then product lines, then building up R&D capacity within an organization, and then you start designing those organizations. So looking at the incentive structures and the teams and the capabilities and how you project your culture or your brand externally. And so I guess when I met the founder and CEO of Anthemis, Nadeem Sheikh, at a conference, he was talking to me about how I might codify that process. So how could you take the design or what we call venture design and really take all of the pieces that I'd learned along the way and do that at scale.
So do you think that bringing the skills from other industries really would help to transform FS industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what's really interesting when you come from a product development background, you realize that most product development companies, if you're Nike or you're GE, you put aside a significant portion of your money in order to develop new ideas, right, to innovate. But that is really foreign to the insurance and financial services industry. And so in my mind, I'd never had to justify that type of expense before, but applying those models to this industry that's really in desperate need of innovation seems to be very successful.
How would you describe the current FinTech ecosystem in the UK and how does the company fit it?
Well, I would say ecosystem is such a great word because we do think of ourselves as having many different stakeholders at the table that are invested in the organization. So we obviously, first and foremost, are an investment firm. We also have a very strong advisory business as well as the institute and other activities. We even have a team fully dedicated to ecosystem development. So we're very strongly immersed in the startup ecosystem here. I would say that in terms of the FinTech landscape, we really think about it much more broadly. We look at data and infrastructure layers, so what are technologies that are coming down the pipe that might have an impact and transform the industry. We look at insurance, insurtech, is the common phrase these days. We even look at energy. We have an investment in the energy space as well as increasingly health tech, because we see it's really at the seams between these various industries where real innovation can happen. In terms of the things we're excited about, it's predominantly around the intersection of financial services and energy, so as well as, I would say, behavior change. So looking at preventative measures, behavior modification, decision making, dealing with cognitive biases, those types of issues that really help to bring financial wellness to a population.
How would you define financial wellness?
It's really looking at what value propositions can you create or what startups can you create that actually make people financially well. So not that extract money from them, but actually have a net positive impact on the world. And actually the University of Bristol and Momentum did a joint study where they developed what they call the Financial Wellness Index. So it looks at macro and microeconomic indicators that are relevant in the context of being financially well. Above and beyond that, we also look at, there is now a term called acute financial stress, which is a form of PTSD that is as a result of financial trouble. And so we're incorporating a lot of these innovative ideas around what it means to be financially well and how that is influenced by your social network, the location, your physical wellness, and these other factors to put together a much more holistic picture. So as I mentioned, we have an investment side of the business, we have an advisory side, as well as an institute. On the investment side of the business, we have our own fund, but we also have managed funds with 3 corporate partners. On the advisory side of the business, we have 4 different propositions. We have our core FinTech strategy product. We also have our digital culture product. We have our investment partnerships, and we also have the venture partnerships. the way we think about them is, if your organization is at a stage where you don't really know how to engage with the fintech ecosystem, or how to think about, I guess, fintech strategically, we can provide services to help you to understand the landscape, make sense of the noise. If you're really looking about building innovation capacity within your organization, then the digital culture piece is really relevant for you. The main goal of that is basically to build up the capacity and the understanding, the methodologies, the frameworks of incorporating innovation, not just in one subset of your organization, but throughout it. So how do you create that kind of change culture that you need? The investment partnerships are quite similar to our investment proposition, our core fund, but it's a managed product. So we actually work with the corporate partner to provide the correct governance, the know-how to be able to evaluate early stage businesses, and help them to co-develop a thesis around what is the type of innovation that they want to invest in, and what role do they want to play within those organizations.
Let's talk about your partnership with South African Financial Services Group, MMI.
Exponential Ventures and MMI have a relationship with Anthemis through the investment partnership, and what they realized is that there were other venture creation or innovation activities that they wanted to perform, and what they were looking for was enough autonomy from the mothership, so that they could really do things that might be strategically relevant, but potentially disruptive to their core business. And so this vehicle gives them enough autonomy and enough distance to be able to do those types of things. So what we do is we actually develop those concepts, and we have a very lightweight but efficient governance structure. We're able to identify opportunities and develop concepts and rapidly deploy capital towards those concepts. And then with our ecosystem development team, we can identify potential founders for those businesses and help them get off and running as quickly as possible.
How do you work with them? Do they provide you the guidance on what problems they want to solve, or do you search proactively for opportunities and advise them what they should be doing?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I think that we have this concept of at the money, out of the money, or deep out of the money, and that's how we think about our various, value propositions or opportunities. And oftentimes you have a little bit of a tension between, if the corporate is looking at something they perceive as a problem at the minute, then that's really a quote-unquote at the money proposition. And what those are fine, those are valuable, but oftentimes they're very incremental innovation rather than truly the 10x change that you're looking for. So I think we have to balance the inputs from them with a more market-driven approach, and also a user needs-based approach. So we're really triangulating those various, competing or complementary needs in order to come up with our ideas. One thing that I will say is, even though MMI first and foremost is an insurer and asset manager, they're actually really interested in the concept of financial wellness. And so the propositions that we're looking at within the venture partnership are actually much broader. They encompass health tech, insurtech, and financial services technology, because we believe that there is a very, very strong correlation between your physical health and your financial health. So the types of propositions we're identifying, in this first cycle, we've been speaking or talking a lot about embedded insurance. So how do you actually even remove insurance from the equation at all? Make sure that it is seamlessly integrated, that it's almost invisible to the user. So the types of value propositions are around ensuring outcomes, ensuring yield, preventative measures, what we might call in a lot of cases, a souped up warranty of sorts. The goal of the venture partnership is to design businesses. So we will design 3 to 5 businesses over the next 2 years that are both strategically relevant to MMI and also within the scope of financial wellness.
Presumably you would want to do a lot more partnerships like this. Why do you think incumbents would be interested to have such partnerships with Anthemis?
I think one of the things that's really valuable is that we have this incredible ecosystem. So we're really embedded within the within the FinTech landscape and also InsurTech landscape, and we have so much know-how from our experience investing in those businesses. So we bring that to the table. Also, when you think of alignment of incentives, it's really, really challenging for corporates to innovate from within. If they develop an idea that is truly disruptive or potentially cannibalizes their existing business, there's all sorts of reasons for the business to try and prevent it from happening, to squash it. And so giving that kind of agency and autonomy is incredibly important. So I guess we feel like the combination of those two things and our experience, both investing and building businesses, is how we can help them to get out of that insulating environment and exposure to a more diverse set of ideas and opportunities.
Can we talk about your selection process? So how are you looking for those ideas and for those startups which will be most suitable for the specific partnership?
As we're evaluating ideas, so if you look in the, I guess the vehicle, the venture partnership, we really think about what is an opportunity space that's sufficiently rich. So we're looking at what we call, quote unquote, potentially solvable problems. So what are problems that are big and hairy, that have rich content, that we know will be meaningful, impactful, and relevant to a large population? So we think about it in I guess 3 main stages. So first we look at take a thematic approach. And I think the reason we do that is because you need to allow yourself, even before you become a startup, to pivot. So we, embedded insurance is a great example of a theme level, I guess, scoping exercise. And then we get a little bit more granular in terms of detail and looking at those rich opportunities or potentially solvable problems. And doing that, we use a number of different lenses. So we look at a user-centered approach, so that might be looking at particular archetypes like single parents, for example, and looking at the needs or the particular pain points that they have. We also take a market-driven approach, so we might look at macro trends, potentially around automation or digitization, that are going to change the face of financial services and the way we live. Those are the types of, I guess, methodologies or processes that we use to identify those rich opportunity spaces. And then we start to dig into the details around a concept. So then we're really talking about what is the value proposition that we bring to the table? Who, is this? What is the business model? What is the go-to-market strategy? And get into a lot of granular detail and even prototype and market validate some of those ideas. I mean, it is a very much a double diamond approach, but I guess potentially an infinite number of diamonds. So if you're unfamiliar with the double diamond, that's kind of a design methodology that's often used by designers, and it talks about identifying what problem to solve and then how to solve that problem using a series of diverging and converging processes. What we think about is the merging of that and agile, so that you're doing that and iterating rapidly over time. So it's not 2 diamonds and then you're done. It's almost an infinite series of diamonds.
How do you build the teams? So once you've got an idea, if you decide to do a prototype and you didn't find a ready-made startup already doing that, how would you source people and how do you get access to the right technology?
In the situation where, let's say, we identify an opportunity space and then we find a startup in the world that is doing exactly what we think should be done, we'll go invest in it. There's no reason for us to build something in it if the perfect answer already exists in the world. So we are not looking to duplicate efforts in that regard. If we have something that is truly innovative, then we look for founders. There are a number of characteristics that we think, in terms of profile, that we look for in a potential founder, but they certainly need the right capabilities or experience that are relevant to the concept that we're developing. They have to have passion and excitement around financial wellness. They have to have the grit to be able to execute on this, because it is a long, hard road, and I've been there myself. So I think that those are the types of things that we look for in a potential founder. The type of support that we offer to founders, or I guess to the startup once it's been incorporated, is we inject pre-seed capital into that business. So they come to a de-risked opportunity with a strategic partner at the table, with the weight of the Anthemis ecosystem behind them and capital to get them going. We also help them to build up the rest of their founding team, and we provide kind of proxy. So let's say, for example, that we bring somebody on who's really of a CEO type role. right? Then we can support them with a proxy CTO until that person is put in place. So we basically can fill in the gaps of their founding team as they develop over time and help them to land their next round of funding.
So what are your biggest challenges at the moment in your team?
Well, I would say there's always the competing tensions between falling in love with the ideas that you're developing and needing to kill them and fail fast. So we try and keep a healthy distance from the concepts that we're developing, such that we can really look at them objectively. I think you also often have the challenge of groupthink. So how do you combat, how do you add dissension and add debate into the conversation such that you're really rigorously assessing the opportunities and the concepts. I guess there's always this desire to artificially prop up or hold on to ideas that really have no business existing in the world. I think the other thing is at the moment, identifying the right founder is a very subjective exercise. And so being able to identify somebody's passion for a space and their ability to deal with risk and the decision making and have the grit to move forward, and them really understanding the value and trusting us, what we bring to the table, is also a big challenge. I mean, you ask any startup in London and you ask what their biggest problem is, talent is the biggest problem.
I'm surprised you're not using technology to identify talent, some biometric assessment, artificial intelligence, scanning the features.
Voice analysis and those things. We actually did an exercise where we profiled the founders of our portfolio companies to kind of aggregate, get some sense of what is a founder who is attracted to Anthemis? What characteristics do they have? What experiences do they have? And we found a handful of things. One is they generally had a technical undergrad or a technical underpinning. So they're familiar with the process of creative problem solving, scientific method, like an evidence-based approach. So that seems to ring true throughout our founders. We also, international exposure. So working and living in multiple cultures gives people an openness to new ideas and multiple perspectives that is incredibly beneficial when you're leading a startup. And I think having enough career experience. One thing that's quite different about financial services or insurance than many other consumer-based propositions is that you really need to understand the regulatory environment. You need to really understand the complexity that exists in these models. And so somebody who's a bit more mid-career and has a bit more experience under their belt tends to really thrive in those types of environments.
What would be the successful outcome for a venture partnership?
Think about it like this is the first step in a marathon, right? I mean, this is what success is exits for these businesses that we've designed. So they are being acquired by large corporates, they are IPOing, they are growing organically and becoming the next Google, Facebook, etc. So I think that we really realize that we're just at the very early days of this, and we'll have an awful lot of learnings along the way, but that's the aim, right?
Do you think you could talk about your success stories? Because you have quite a few big names on your books with the VC fund. Are there any particular things which the company is proud of? Absolutely.
I would say on the investment side of the business, the first exit was Climate Corp, which was, I think, for its time, we were really early to the table. I mean, we were doing FinTech and InsurTech before there was even a name for it. Betterment has been incredibly successful, so we're very proud of that. So I think there are a number of businesses Payoff as well, I mean, especially in the financial wellness space. That's been a big hit, and we're very proud of that team. On the Foundry, we have a handful of businesses that are actually raising follow-on investment at this point that were actually designed and built in-house. So there are a handful of propositions, I can't talk about the details of them, but that have at least gotten signaling from the market that they're viable from an investment standpoint. How do you see the future of advisory services in Anthemis, maybe with 10 years horizon? I see us being much more integrated with our clients. I see us being much more collaborative. I see us really being able to pull on various resources in a modular way as the future of advisory services. Well, Erica, thank you very much for your time. We wish a lot of success to Anthemis and the Venture Partnerships Group in particular. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shortlisted Productions specialise in the production of business video content for corporate clients. Please contact us for a free quote at shortlistedproductions.com.